time every 28 days? Is it abnormal if the amount of flow is always changing?
Are we expected to suffer and still go about our business as usual when we have the curse?
What are the best hygienic protections? How do you know when you're starting your menopause? Do the nerves always go to pieces during the menopause?
Ladies, when it comes to the menopause, no doubt you have many questions. In this Beaker Street Festival public service production, we are pleased to reveal the answers as a typical woman of a certain age meets a highly qualified medical professional to discuss the fascinating world of lady plumbing.
Hi. Dr. Tash?
Oh, hi. Come in.
Hey.
Come in, have a seat.
Thanks so much. Oh, great to be here at last. Well, so Dr. Tash, look, I've been wanting to have a little chat with you. I've actually been wanting to have a little chat with you for some time because Is it hot in here?
I'm actually feeling quite comfortable.
Oh, bloody God, that's better. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes. Oh, dear Lord. You okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're all right. As for me, God, I feel like the 7 witches of menopause. Itchy, bitchy, sweaty, bloaty, sleepy, psycho, and, forgetful. Oh, dear. Where were we? That's right. Yeah, so look, I wanted to come in and see you because, sometimes I just feel like, I don't wish to brag, Dr. Tash, but I feel like I can sort of, forget what I'm doing while I'm doing it. And I sometimes think often of the words and the counsel of that great singer-songwriter, Bonnie Tyler, the wisdom of Bonnie. Once upon a time I was healthy and young, but now my body's falling apart. Nothing I can do. I totally shit when I fart. Right. Oh. Okay, I'm back. Where were we? What am I here for?
Well, I think it's,
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. Hot flushes, or heart flashes, as they say in the United States of America. What's that all about?
Yes, it is known as hot flashes in the US and here in Australia.
There you go. Mind you, I did read somewhere that I actually like to think I don't suffer from hot flushes, Dr. Tash. No, I like to think that what I experience are just short, private holidays in the tropics. Anyway, you were saying hot flashes. Yeah. I actually also read that it's just nature's way of just making sure that you turn down the power bill and the heating, and that way you save money for your retirement. That's another way of looking at it. That's very positive. So, as you were saying.
Yes, well,
Oh, no, I think I came by car, and I think I parked it, but I don't think I put any money in the meter. Sorry, Dr. Tash, I'm gonna have to go, but I'll make another appointment. I'll be back.
I totally understand.
Sorry.
All right, so, menopause. We're here to talk about menopause today. The average age that a woman experiences menopause is 52. And the definition of menopause is that moment in time when a woman has been 12 months since her last menstrual period and her ovaries have decided to retire. The time prior to menopause is referred to as the perimenopause, and during this time a woman is still menstruating but may be experiencing symptoms of menopause transition. And that time after menopause is simply referred to as the post-menopause. So, hot flushes, one of the most common symptoms experienced in menopause. In the US, they call them hot flashes. Here in Australia, we call them hot flushes. But whatever you call them, they're an absolute pain in the arse. So imagine you're a human volcano about to erupt in beads of heat and sweat. You're on a tropical vacation, but there aren't any cocktails to cool you down. Perhaps you're sitting in a meeting and you're kicking goals. Perhaps you've just given an awesome presentation. You're about to take questions. You're feeling good. And then you start to feel an internal heat that starts in your chest and it starts to spread to your neck, your face. Your face goes red. Then you start to notice little beads of sweat trickling between your breasts. Yeah, some of you have been through that. Along your hairline, along that top upper lip. Holy shit, that volcano is about to erupt. And as quickly as it erupts, it's over. And you're just left sitting there in a chill as that sweat lies wet on your skin. So hot flushes can occur almost every hour for some women. We know that they can occur during the day. They can also occur at night, where they're referred to as night sweats. Sheets on, sheets off, sheets on, sheets off. Hot and sweaty, cold and wet. I have patients that tell me they lie on towels to soak up the sweat so that they can change them often throughout the night and not have drenched bed sheets, drenched pyjamas. 75% of women who experience menopause will experience hot flushes. A third of women will have severe symptoms and a third will have mild symptoms. And we know that 1 in 8 women who flush will actually flush forever. Sorry guys. The average length of time for a woman to flush though, you're going to love this one, 7.4 years. So what's happening? Why are we experiencing these hot flushes? Well, I want you to picture this tiny molecule, our superstar, estrogen. Now, estrogen plays a vital role in our bodies, helping regulate various functions such as temperature control. Now, during menopause, we have fluctuations and a gradual decline in estrogen. And with these fluctuations, it kind of causes our internal thermostat to go into a bit of chaos. And with that thermostat chaos, it sends mixed signals to our brain, and our brain tries to cool us down, and it does that by dilating blood vessels and releasing sweat. So while everyone else is enjoying a cool spring breeze, you're simply sitting there drenched in sweat. So we know that declining estrogen plays a huge role in and is the reason for why we experience hot flushes. But there are a number of factors that can influence the way we experience our hot flushes and the severity. Some of those things are smoking, lack of physical activity. We know that a negative mood and outlook, which can be easy to have when you're menopausal, can influence how we experience our hot flushes. Lower socioeconomic status, as well as cultural and racial factors. We know that Asian women are less likely to report hot flushes. Yay me. So what can we do? What can we do, friends? How can we manage these hot flushes and navigate our way through menopause? Well, look, my first piece of advice is stay cool, calm and collected. Not like Jane. Stay cool, wear cotton, wear layers that you can shed like a snake shedding its skin. Invest in an arsenal of fans. Amazon have some pretty cool little pink handheld ones. Avoid spicy food, avoid alcohol before bed. Perhaps, if you're having a glass of wine now, go for a run afterwards. We know that increased physical activity will help us with our hot flushes. Partake in activities that promote relaxation, such as meditation, mindfulness, yoga. Then we have non-hormonal medications that can be effective for the management of hot flushes. They're not as effective as hormonal therapy, but it's worth giving it a go if you're someone that has a contraindication to hormones or is just someone that is not ready to take that step into hormones. And then, like I said, we have hormones. And we know that menopause hormonal therapy is the most effective treatment for the management of hot flushes in menopause. We know the benefits far outweigh the risks if commenced before the age of 60 and within 10 years of menopause. But more on that later.
Hello, Dr. Tash. I love what you've done with the room.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
So please have a seat. How can I help you today?
Well, Dr. Tash, I don't know quite how to put this, but I'm feeling rather dry. I'm so dry. I'm as dry as a half-eaten bowl of Weetbix that's been left out in the sun. I'm so dry, the Sahara Desert rang and said they'd like some of their sand back.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm sure it's been extremely painful for you.
You're telling me I routinely suffer from stabbing pains in my vagina and a burning sensation all around my vulva. I have a constant soreness and I have these tiny little micro cuts in my perineum. Perineum. And the itching, doctor. And I've got ulcers, and it's just the soreness of it. And I've even got, and I think this is singularly unfair, a painful clitoris. I just have very, very, very sensitive skin. And my once luxuriant pubic hair, well, that started to shed like a sheep in spring. Even wearing knickers and trousers, well, that's excruciating. And as for sex, don't make me laugh. I'll spill more sand. No, that ship has sailed. And I have been to every doctor I can find. I've been to counsellors, I've been to nutritionists, I've been to physiotherapists, I've been to gynecologists, I've been to urogynecologists, whatever they are, I've been to vulva dermatologists, I've been to sexual health specialists, I've been to clinicians, I've even tried acupuncture, I have tried Reiki, I have tried iridology, hypnotherapy, hydrotherapy, and I have even tried wicky wacky woo, let's all stand in a circle and sway our troubles away. All to no avail. And Dr. Tash, I have tried every cream, moisturiser, unguent, balm. I've tried the tears of a Tibetan yak to find some moisture in my folds, but nothing works. Honestly, Dr. Tash, I just don't know what else to do or who to turn to. And you know what I find particularly galling is that when you try and tell any Tom, Dick or Harry, or well, for a young one like you, Taylor, Michaela and Shayla, about your dry, crusty vulva and your dry, withered vagina, it doesn't win you many friends.
Well, you've come to the right place.
I'm so pleased to hear that, Dr. Tash. I really am. Oh, Dr. Tash, I am desperate to hear what you have to say. But would you be so kind? Would you excuse me? Because I just have an overwhelming sensation to scratch. I'll be back.
Well, why don't we unveil Vaginal Dryness Menopause Edition? So picture this, you're navigating that beautiful landscape that is menopause, and you come across a hurdle, and that hurdle just happens to be a big old sand dune in the Sahara Desert. And that sand dune represents your vaginal dryness. On the horizon, there's another sand dune. Now that sand dune represents your low libido. Because if your vagina is feeling like the sand dunes of the Sahara Desert, then it makes sense that the last thing you want to do is have sex. But fear not, my friends, because today we're going to unpack vaginal dryness and hopefully we can create a little vaginal oasis of your own. Vaginal dryness is actually a really common symptom of menopause. We know that 45 to 63% of women of menopausal age will experience vaginal dryness. And that number jumps to over 80% of women over the age of 65. But get this, only 7% of women will ever seek treatment for their vaginal dryness. And it's not just dryness that is the problem, as Miss Vulva told us earlier. It's the burning, the stinging, the itch, the pain. And then that leads to a lower desire for sex and a low libido. And then to add injury to insult, a lot of women will have recurrent UTIs or urinary tract infections. I see this a lot with women being treated over and over again with antibiotics for recurrent UTIs when the underlying problem is not actually looked at. And the underlying problem here is the dryness of your vagina. It's the perfect environment for bacteria to creep up that urethra and create an infection. So as I mentioned, vaginal dryness is due to hormonal changes, primarily that decline in estrogen. Estrogen is so important for our vaginas. It helps with the vaginal health and lubrication. And when those estrogen levels drop in menopause, we start to develop dryness, thinness, and less elastic in the vaginal tissue. And from that, we develop those cuts, tears, grazes, and fissures. And it can be extremely distressing for a lot of women. And low libido, another common symptom of menopause. When it's due to physical causes like vaginal dryness, we can usually help manage it fairly easily. But sometimes it can be due to psychological and social factors as well. So when we're talking about low libido, we know that the fluctuations in hormones, the decline in estrogen, can affect neurotransmitters that are involved in sexual arousal and desire. And so what we experience with these symptoms, along with our changes in body image, our confidence, our relationship dynamics, can all have an impact on libido. So what can we do to help with this low libido and our vaginal dryness? Well, the first thing is to talk about it. We need to talk about our symptoms. And you might be surprised if you talk to your friends that many others are experiencing the same symptoms. Then go and talk to a doctor about it. There is a lot that we can do to help you with your symptoms of vaginal dryness. If you don't have a doctor you feel comfortable with, then seek out a women's health GP. There are plenty of them around these days, and we're weirdos. We love talking about vaginas, so come and talk to us about it. So So if you're experiencing vaginal dryness only around the time of sexual activity, then a lubricant can go a long way for you, and you can use it on an as-needed basis. There are plenty of lubricants on the market, so it's just a matter of experimenting. We have oil, water, silicone-based lubricants. In general, for women experiencing menopause, we advise to stay away from the water-based lubricants simply because a lot of them do contain alcohols and an antiseptic called chlorhexidine that can actually be further drying to the vagina. But as is the case with most things, simple is best, and just a really good quality coconut oil or olive oil can do the trick. Not only is it safe and effective, but it doesn't increase our risk of vaginal infections. It's also really easy just to chuck into the shopping trolley. For women who are experiencing their symptoms on a more frequent basis and outside of sexual activity, then we may need to consider some estrogen therapy to replace the estrogen that we've lost and to bring back the health and lubrication and moisture to our vaginal tissue. So we normally use a low-dose topical estrogen to the vagina via creams or tablets that are applied via a pessary directly to the vagina. Now these doses are very low and they're not actually considered HRT. The dose works locally within the vagina and doesn't get absorbed systemically into our system. So it doesn't get absorbed into our bloodstream. It's extremely easy to use. We usually start off with 1 dose a day for 2 weeks and then we drop it down to just twice a week. So it's a very safe, effective and easy treatment for the symptoms of vaginal dryness. And then sometimes if we treat the vaginal dryness, our libido improves. But as I mentioned earlier, there can be psychological and social aspects to low libido. And so in those instances, we would simply refer to a sex therapist or a psychologist with a special interest in this area. Now, I've spoken to you about estrogen. I want to talk to you about testosterone. Now, some women may be surprised to hear that, yes, women actually do produce testosterone. We just don't produce it in the bucket loads that men do. Now, testosterone actually can be associated with a low libido. And it's really interesting and fascinating to me that our testosterone levels actually start to decline from the age of 20 right up until our perimenopause, where it hits a fairly low level. But what's really interesting is that testosterone level starts to increase at about the age 65 to 70. So there's still hope. You can have a raging sex life when you're in the nursing home. Now, in Australia, we have just had a testosterone cream approved by the TGA for the treatment of hypoactive sexual desire disorder, which is just a fancy term for low libido, for postmenopausal women. So we've only got good data to support this use in postmenopausal women, but a trial of this testosterone over 6 months can quickly tell us whether improving your testosterone levels can help with your low libido. So I guess the moral of the story is if you're experiencing any symptoms of vaginal dryness, pain, irritation, whatever it is, or low libido, I want you to go and talk to a doctor about it, okay? A lot of the time it may just be vaginal dryness and we can sort it out with some lube or some estrogen. Sometimes though, and I have seen this many times, it may be a dermatological condition, and there's one called lichen sclerosus, which if treated can be managed really well, but left untreated can actually lead to vulval cancer, and we don't want that for anyone. So if you're experiencing any symptoms, I want you to see a GP. So ladies, shake that sand out, put on your best pair of knickers. Definitely don't shave, wax, trim or pluck, because we don't care, and get your vagina into a doctor's office. Thank you.
Doctor, are you ready? Doctor, I'm waiting.
Oh yes.
Thank you.
Oh please, hello, hi, come in.
Good morning, how do you do?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Is that houseplant absolutely necessary?
Oh, well, I think it adds to the...
Fine, sorry. say I have been dreading coming to see you. Oh, I have never felt so unheard, unseen, and undervalued. I mean, is that a thing? I just feel invisible. And if my 17-year-old son says, whatever, one more time, I will physically throttle him with my bare hands. I am a perfectly well-adjusted, high-functioning, mature woman. I can have as much fun as the next person. But why should I even try when my husband spends every waking minute at home gazing at his iPad, and my teenage son and daughter don't even acknowledge that I exist? I mean, what is wrong with people? I don't get enough credit for not turning into a violent psychopath. I just feel that I believe that the Latin root for menopause is WTF is happening to me. I am a strong, powerful woman with strong, powerful needs. But, Dr. Tash, I don't understand what is going on. Because I find, Doctor, that when I'm home alone, there's no one around, there's no one to talk to, and everyone is gone, and I just don't understand what is happening. I find it singularly frustrating. I'm feeling better. So I want you to know, Doctor, that I understand that I don't understand what is happening. I don't understand if I'm coming or going. I don't understand if I'm Arthur or Martha, if I'm hot or cold, if I'm freezing or boiling, if I'm Arthur or Martha. I don't understand if I want to commit to that stupid Gwyneth Paltrow starvation diet or eat my body weight in chocolate mud cakes from Coles Supermarket, which is really good value at $5. It's cheaper than therapy. I really am a strong, independent woman. And I'm perfectly capable of self-medicating and making my own choices. I self-medicate every night. I start with a gin and tonic. I move on to wine. Maybe some carbs, followed by ice cream, chocolate, a little bit of binge on Netflix. And then maybe I move on to some unhealthy preoccupations with 2 a.m. online shopping, buying things I don't need, and then looking at photos of Harry Styles. Who doesn't? Doctor, I'm just feeling off. I'm just feeling off. I'm feeling off my game. I'm feeling off my family. And I'm definitely feeling off my husband. What to do?
Well, you've come to the right place.
Thank you, Doctor. Sorry, Doctor. I really do want to hear what you have to say, but I am busting for a kiss. Where do I go? Where do I go?
Yes, just down the hall and to the left.
Oh, thank you. And Doctor?
Yes.
I feel better already.
Sorry, I can't keep a straight face. She's too good. Oh dear, mood swings during menopause. Well, if you've been through them yourself or you know someone that has, then you'll know it's a roller coaster ride of emotions, as we saw just now. You're strolling through the transition into menopause and you're probably feeling quite smug actually, because you're probably thinking all your PMS days are behind you. But then, your emotions take an unexpected turn. High irritability, anxiety, depressed mood, brain fog, rage, intolerance for stupid people. Perhaps even your doctor's plant in their office. Menopause was one of those things that would get you an instant hysteria diagnosis if it was enough to upset you or your husband and land you on a psychiatrist's couch in the 19th and 20th centuries. But we know now that we are not hysterical women. We just need to be heard. And these days, we just need to find the right person to listen. Most people who go through menopause will experience some kind of mood change. And that's usually mood swings, intensity of mood, increased sensitivity. We know that women going through the menopause transition are 20 to 30% more likely to experience depressive symptoms compared to women of the same age not going through the transition. We know that about 20% of women in early perimenopause and 38% of women in late perimenopause will experience symptoms of depression and anxiety. For many, the symptoms will be mild and infrequent and manageable with chocolate and wine. For others, the symptoms will be far more severe. So why is this happening? Well, if you're following the theme tonight, it's hormones. During menopause, there's hormonal fluctuations in estrogen and progesterone, and these fluctuations influence neurotransmitters involved in mood regulation. We know that estrogen has influence on neurotransmitters such as dopamine and serotonin, which are involved in our mood regulation, as well as progesterone, which directly influences our brain chemistry. So with these sudden fluctuations in these hormones, it really disturbs that fine balance of neurotransmitters, which leads to those mood swings and the intensity of moods and those ups and downs. But we don't experience menopause in a vacuum, and what happens interpersonally, socially and culturally, as well as in the rest of our lives, can have an impact on our mental health. That transition out of our reproductive years, coupled with things such as hot flushes, interrupted sleep, the way our bodies have changed, these all have impacts on our mental health, as well as perhaps a partner who doesn't share in the mental load at home, or teenage kids that just know how to get under your skin. So what can we do to manage these mood changes in menopause? Well, I actually find that a lot of women are pretty good at self-advocating and talking about their symptoms to a doctor. Unfortunately, by the time women come to see me, I see a lot of women that have often felt dismissed, perhaps ushered out of the room with a script for an antidepressant, not fully understanding why it's been prescribed, without any adequate follow-up. Now, the most important thing here is we need to self-prioritise. We need to practice self-care, and we need to find a health practitioner or professional that can listen and help us understand. More often than not, I find it's just giving women the time to talk about their symptoms and to navigate a plan together. So self-care, all the usuals, balanced diet, regular exercise, practicing yoga, mindfulness, meditation, all of that. But remember, doing this is not selfish, and we need to take the time to practice these habits. I mentioned physical activity earlier and just now. Physical activity is the number one thing that can help our brain health. And when I talk about brain health, I'm not just talking about mental health, but I'm also talking about our dementia risks. Did you know that women are more likely to experience dementia than men. We're 2 to 3 times more likely to experience dementia. And also dementia is the leading cause of death and disability for women in Australia. Not breast cancer, not heart disease. So brain health is really important, and physical activity is not only great for our mental health, but it's fantastic for our dementia risks. We can also consider hormonal therapy for women experiencing mood changes in life. We have increasing data now to suggest that hormonal therapy for women experiencing new onset mental health disorders during midlife or exacerbations of previous mental health disorders can actually find benefits with the use of hormonal therapy. So women, if you are an emotional wreck every time you listen to a Taylor Swift song, in a rage all of the time, going off at your doctor for their plans, then I really want you to go and find a doctor that you can sit down and talk about your mental health with. Thank you. Oh, hello.
Hi. Has anyone seen my hormones?
Come in.
I have been looking for my hormones for I don't know how long. They just really seem to have taken leave without permission. Hello, Dr. Tash. Look, doctor, I'm a little bit interested in HRT, although a girlfriend of mine did kind of give me a heads up on some of the side effects, and I reckon that acronym should be HURT, because some of those side effects, weight gain, irregular bleeding, skin irritation, feeling sick, oh, gee, sign me up. Sounds fantastic. So, look, Dr. Tash, I just want you to know that I'm interested in HRT, not sure about HRT, because to be honest, I can think of a hell of a lot of other things in my life I could do with replacing. There's my 2002 Holden Astra, there's my partner sometimes. Look, I'm sorry, Dr. Tash, I'm just having one of those days where I feel like I just want to set someone's face on fire. And then try putting it out with a fork. Sorry, Dr. Tash. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. But I just have been thinking about hormone replacement therapy, wondering about it. Is it the right one for me? Because basically, I'd like to know if it might make my hot flushes even hotter. Because if it makes my flushes hotter, then there's a chance that it's going to burn fat, melt calories, and arouse my dormant sex drive. Is there any chance it does that?
Well,
Oh, I'll take that as no. Never mind. Look, so let's put it on the table. I'm interested in HRT. I want to know about it. I've heard that it helps women. And I've heard that if it helps women, then that's the hormone I want. You know, the one that's going to kind of give me beautiful, cascading hair that sort of falls around my shoulders and arouses that dormant sex drive and gives me that flexible, firm, lithe figure I had when I was 21. Because I'd like that hormone. Please. I'd like that hormone and not the hormone that gives you heart attacks, breast cancer and stroke. What are my chances?
well, hormone therapy doesn't quite work like that.
Oh, no, I beg to differ. I think you'll find it does. When I was looking up Dr. Google on the worldwide interwebs, I found an article that, in fact, look, why don't I just go and get it, Dr. Tash, because it's just outside on my iPad in the Astra. I'll be right back.
Menopause hormonal therapy, or MHT, formerly known as HRT, hormone replacement therapy. It's a topic that is surrounded in many myths and misconceptions. So hopefully today we can unpack a little bit and understand why there may be some of these myths surrounding MHT. Now we know that estrogen therapy is the most effective form of treatment for menopausal symptoms in women before the age of 60 and within 10 years of menopause, and we know that the benefits far outweigh the risks. Now, MHT is usually a form of estrogen, and for a woman with an intact uterus, we add in progesterone. Now, for a woman that has a uterus that has estrogen alone, it can build up the inside lining of that uterus and increase their risks of endometrial cancer, so cancer of the inside lining of the uterus. So that is why we add in the progesterone, and that's simply to protect that inside lining of the uterus. For women who don't have a uterus, who have perhaps had a hysterectomy, and yes, women who have had a hysterectomy can still experience menopause symptoms, then we can simply use estrogen alone. Now, in order to understand MHT and the journey that it has had, we probably just need to take a step back in history. We first heard of menopause from Aristotle, but it wasn't until the 1820s that we first heard the term that was coined by a French physician. And then, 100 years later, we started to understand it as a deficiency disorder. And cures included things like testicular juice. I wanted a cocktail to be named that tonight. And crushed animal ovaries. Wonderful. In the 1940s, we came a long way and we had our first official HRT, and that was in the form of conjugated equine estrogen. And it was pretty amazing, actually. It was really good at helping manage our symptoms of menopause. However, we started to see increased cases of endometrial cancer, and that was because it was the estrogen alone. So about that time, we added in the progestin to the estrogen, and we had combination HRT. And it worked really well. We started to get data through showing that there were improvements in bone health and actually improvements in cardiovascular health for women. But then that all changed in 2002, not that long ago. And that was due to the WHI study, or the Women's Health Initiative. And this was a large study of over 160,000 women, ranging in age from between 50 and 79. The average age of women in this study was about 63, and we knew that a quarter of the women were over the age of 70. Now, this study stopped abruptly after 5 years, and this study was actually meant to go for a lot longer, almost a decade, but it stopped abruptly because researchers found that there were increased cases of breast cancer, heart attacks, and strokes. Now, up until this point, we were only using HRT for the management of menopause symptoms in women at peak menopause age. And this is exactly what we still do to this day. But the study was to actually see if menopause treatment in women in their postmenopausal years would have the same benefits on their cardiovascular health as we had seen in women at peak menopause years. So the study was simply to see, was hormone therapy a preventer for cardiovascular risks for women in their older years? And what we saw in this study were, well, it pretty much wasn't. And we had a 29% increase in heart attacks in the groups of women taking HRT compared to placebo. We had a 41% increase in strokes in the group of women taking hormones compared to placebo, and a 26% increase in breast cancer in the women taking hormones compared to placebo. So, I mean, if this data was presented to you and you were told that this was the case for all women of all ages taking hormone therapy, then of course you would want to stop it. And that's exactly what happened. Everybody stopped taking their HRT and doctors stopped prescribing it. But these results were not an indication of all ages. It was simply an indication of our older women, our postmenopausal women. We knew that in the study, the women in the hormone groups were much older than the women in the placebo groups. We knew that over 66% of women were between the ages of 60 and 79 that were taking the hormones. And this is a cohort of women that would normally have an increased risk of breast cancer, heart disease, and so forth. And also the hormones that we were using in the study back then are just not a type of hormone that we use anymore. Our hormones have actually become much more sophisticated with the development of transdermal estrogens such as gels and patches that have really great benefits and minimal to no risks. So in 2008, this data was re-examined, and it showed that for women in the study that were actually of peak menopause years and were given the hormone therapy, they actually had an improvement in their cardiovascular risks, and they actually had minimal to no increased risks of breast cancer. So this data was just simply misinterpreted and misrepresented. So we know that in women of peak menopause years, it's pretty okay to take it as long as there aren't any other contraindications. But we did see that in our older age groups, there were increased risks. But let's look at those risks a little further and break it down and have a detailed look at it. So let's look at breast cancer, because that's the one everyone talks about. And we saw a 26% increase in breast cancer. Now, that actually equates to only 8 extra women per 10,000. So if I were to fill a stadium with 10,000 women and none of them were on hormone therapy, then we would have 30 women develop breast cancer. That is our baseline risk. We all have that risk of breast cancer. If I then prescribed all of those women hormone therapy, then an extra 8 women would develop breast cancer. And that's out of 10,000. So the increase isn't that much, and if we put it into perspective, that risk is only slightly higher than the risk of developing breast cancer if you were to have 1 glass of wine per night, and actually less than the risk of developing breast cancer if you drink 2 glasses of wine per night. And I know many of you would not even think twice about that second glass of wine and your risks of breast cancer from that. But please, still enjoy another glass tonight. The study also actually showed a 37% decrease in bowel cancer, 34% decrease in hip fractures. So there were some good things as well to come from it. In 2013, we finally had a general consensus and statements released to say that hormone therapy is a safe and effective means of managing menopausal symptoms if started before the age of 60 and within 10 years of menopause, with the benefits outweighing the risks. It's important to note that MHT is not a one-size-fits-all, and every woman needs to be individually assessed. In my work, we usually spend at least up to 60 minutes talking to a woman about her menopausal symptoms and discussing her different treatment options. There are contraindications to hormonal therapy, so not every woman can take it. And hormone therapy, if prescribed, just needs to be seen as a temporary support system for what is a transitional phase in a woman's life. So, in conclusion, we know that menopause is a cocktail of emotions, hot flushes, vaginal dryness, and more. But hysterical women, we are not. And I really want to encourage all of you to go out there and talk about your symptoms, because the more we normalise this very normal phase in a woman's life, the better. Thank you.